Jenna, thanks. A scramble in Springfield after word that the state was sending 30 homeless families to a hotel in the city last Friday. Springfield Mayor Sarno sharing his concerns tonight after he says he was not notified about this ahead of time. Western Mass News reporter Glenn Kittle joining us live in Springfield after getting answers. Glenn.
Mayor Sarno tells us that there were no formal plans made to take on these homeless families that were sent in from across the state. Now he's calling on other cities in Western Mass to help give more people shelter.
Massachusetts is a right to shelter state, meaning if you qualify, the government can provide short-term shelter. However, on Friday, the Healey Administration called Springfield Mayor Sarno to tell him 30 homeless families were going to be staying in the Holiday Inn Express on State Street, something he says caught him off guard.
If you don't have any communication, you create disastrous situations, which is not fair for the city in question, in this case Springfield, or not fair for the homeless families who are in need.
Sarno tells Western Mass News the city of Springfield has taken in homeless families in the past. However, he tells us Springfield has a homeless population of its own to focus on before taking on others from outside the city.
We'll be more than happy if there's some way we can help out within reason, but my first priority is the people of Springfield.
We reached out to the state for comment on this situation. We were told in part, quote, the Healey Administration is committed to ensuring that families experiencing homelessness have access to safe shelter. With our emergency assistance system currently at capacity, we have to use every tool in our toolkit to accommodate demand, including utilizing available hotels throughout the state. We are committed to maintaining close communication with communities throughout this process. Mayor Sarno tells Western Mass News he has spoken with Governor Healey and other state leaders since Friday's miscommunication. He says he hopes to have clear communication with the administration going forward to help out the homeless population as much as possible.
Now the lines of communications are open. Good conversation with Lieutenant Governor Driscoll Friday evening, and a good conversation with my team Saturday morning on if we can help and offer some suggestions, whether in Springfield or surrounding it regionally.
We were told that all 30 families did receive shelter on Friday night, just not in Springfield. Reporting live in Springfield, Glenn Kittle, Western Mass News.